welcome to our first tutorial lesson. In this lesson, we'll be dealing with adjectives. So let's talk about some of the basic features of adjectives. We know that they are content categories, that is, they are categories which express semantic content. They denote properties of objects, persons, places, etc. They can denote properties related to age, size, shape, weight, color, merit or quality, and so on. There are some basic syntactic properties that adjectives have, such as function, grade, and modification. Let's start by modification. By modification, we mean that adjectives can be modified, and usually by adverbs. So we have examples such as too old, remarkably tall, extremely useful to us, where adverbs precede and pre-modified adjectives. As regards function, well, adjectives have got functions. They either act as pre-modifiers of a noun, that is, they precede the noun they are modifying, and this is the reason why authors describe these adjectives as attributive adjectives, or they act as subject complement or object complement. And because they are in the predicate, we say that they have a predicative use, and that is another classification of these adjectives, predicative adjectives. Predicative adjectives come after a linking verb such as be or become. We have some examples here. It was a comfortable ride, where comfortable precedes ride, so it is an attributive adjective. The ride was comfortable, where we find comfortable after the linking verb was, so we say that they are predicative. Or we also find it after the object, the bed, and it also has a predicative use here. Some authors, they say that these object adjectives coming after an object complement are post-positive adjectives. When we find an adjective in all these three functions, we say that they are central adjectives because they can appear in all the three functions. And we have some others such as clever, brave, calm, hungry, and noisy. Now, there are also appositive adjectives, which are these coming after a noun before a determiner, set off by commas, and heard almost as an afterthought. Pay a look at these two examples. The cabin, old but sturdy, survived the hurricane, or old but sturdy, comma, the cabin survived the hurricane. As regards grade, that's another feature of adjectives, because adjectives inflect for grade. That means that we can arrange them in a scale of comparison. And we normally use intensifiers to indicate the point on that scale, the most common being the adverb very, but there are others which we can also include. If we talk about grade, we must talk about two categories for adjectives, these being qualifying and classifying adjectives. Qualifying adjectives express qualities of a noun, such as big, nice, or complicated, and classifying adjectives are absolute adjectives, that is, adjectives which cannot be intensified. They express permanent qualities such as married, second, and unique, and they are ungradable, whereas qualifying adjectives are gradable. And now we're going to see what gradable and ungradability means. This is making stronger or making the meaning stronger or weaker, gradable adjectives, or representing a limit on a scale of meaning. And these are ungradable adjectives. Have a look at cheap and very expensive. We can say that something is very cheap, a little bit expensive, or very expensive. So in the scale of how much something costs, we have degrees. But what happens with priceless, boiling, freezing, free? We cannot say that something is, there's nothing more freezing or more free or less priceless or less boiling or less tiny. And this is what we mean by ungradable adjectives. Adjectives where there is nothing more or nothing less to them. Gradable adjectives, therefore, have a superlative or a comparative form, and they can be pre-modified by the adverb very. Same as when we want to weaken the adjective, we say that something is fairly or slightly. Fairly tall, slightly tall. But what happens with ungradable adjectives? Well, no, there is no superlative or comparative form. We cannot say that something is more dead or less dead, or more enormous or very enormous. It almost sounds weird to our ears. Therefore, very is not used to intensify these adjectives. We use other adverbs such as absolutely or quite. Have a look at, for example, this sentence we've got here. Entrance to the museum is absolutely free. It would be ungrammatical to say entrance to the museum is very free. So here I'm showing some examples of gradable and ungradable adjectives. As you see, we cannot say very freezing or freezinger, but we can intensify the adjective freezing by using absolutely. The car is cheaper, this car is cheaper than this van. So cheap, that is a gradable adjective because we can have it in its comparative form. And we can also use very with cheap. Now, comparative adjectives, you may be well aware of the rules by now of comparative adjectives. They are forms of an adjective involving the comparisons of more or less, as well as greater or lesser degree. And, well, you know the rules, yes. One-syllable adjectives along with two-syllable adjectives add er to the base form of the comparative, and in most adjectives of two or more syllables, the comparative is identified by the word more or less. Now, with superlative adjectives, this is the form of an adjective which indicates that the most or the least of something. We add the suffix est for one-syllable adjectives, and when there are three or more syllables, we add most or least. After a superlative, in or of plus a noun phrase can be used to indicate what is being compared, such as the tallest building in the world and the best time of my life. Well, we're also going to deal with adjective formation in this tutorial lesson. How can we form adjectives? Well, out of derivational suffixes, participial forms, or compounds. You might be well aware by now of derivational suffixes. Just if you don't remember, derivational suffixes are these endings which change the category of the word. Have a look at the first set of adjectives, disposable, suitable, fashionable, where we add able to dispose, to the verb dispose, to get the adjective disposable, or audible, or editorial, yes, where we add ial to editor, a noun, to get the adjective editorial. So here you have a list of the most common derivational suffixes to form adjectives. Another way, as I said before, is by the use of participial forms. These are the ed or ing endings. They can come before or after a noun, such as the chosen song features innovative use of digital sampling, or the song chosen may be a disappointment to the fans. And something else that we have to remember about these participial forms is that normally the ing adjectives have an active meaning, whereas ed have got a passive meaning. Have a look at these examples. I always seem to play for the losing team. This is the team which is losing. Now, in the second example, she found the lost ring under the sofa. We can almost paraphrase it as she found the ring that had been lost under the sofa, with a passive construction giving us a passive meaning. Something else which is important about participial forms is that ing conveys the feeling that something causes, where ed conveys a feeling experienced. Have a look at this sentence. It was a frightening film, and I felt frightened. Last but not least, we can also form adjectives out of compounds. Compounds are these participles combined with another content word, hyphenated. Their position is before the noun, and the participle comes last. There are two examples here. The Marines made a deafening leap over the cliff, a death-defying leap over the cliff edge, where defying, the participle, comes last, and death-defying is hyphenated, or slow-growing variety, where we also find this hyphen in between. We should also remember that adjectives in English have got a certain order. That is, when we find several adjectives together, modifying a noun, we should first, if we are writing, we should first write a sort of article, a demonstrative or a possessive. Then comes an adjective expressing quantity, then an adjective expressing opinion or observation, size, age, shape, length and appearance, color, origin, ethnicity, religion, material, or purpose. Purpose is often given by these ing adjectives, such as sleeping in sleeping bag, or baseball in baseball jersey. Let's have a look at these two examples here. Why one is right and the other one is incorrect. A small old French carriage clock. That is correct. Whereas French small old carriage clock is incorrect because, first of all, French is in a position where it should not